Chairwoman of the Citizens Law Enforcement Advisory Review Commission, and want to welcome you to our fifth quarterly public session. On March 24th, 2025 at 10:02 a.m., this meeting is called to order. We will now have roll call of our commissioners and ascertainment of quorum by Secretary and fellow Commissioner Amy Zab. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioner. We'll do the roll call now, starting with the chairman. Clifford Caceres,
Present.
David Sonnenschein,
Present.
Jeffrey Wilson,
Present.
Leon Ford, absent, Dr. John Roselle,
Present.
Benjamin Lerner,
Present.
French Hardo,
Present.
Amy Zapp, present, Charles Bailey,
Present.
and Kevin Mahoney.
Present.
Madam Chair, we have all but one of the commissioners present.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Zap. So with that, we have a quorum and the commission may proceed with necessary votes on official business. First, I would like to acknowledge and introduce our new to me, State Inspector General Michelle A. Henry, and you're welcome to please speak to us. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I just want to say it's wonderful to be here. And as I said before, when I looked at the members that are on this commission, I was incredibly impressed with the background, the expertise, and I really support the work that this commission does. I think as a longtime prosecutor, it's always important that we're looking at what we've done and how we can do things better. So I'm excited to be here and look forward to watching you.
Thank you, IG Henry. It's nice to meet you and look forward to working with you. Also here with us is her Chief of Staff, Michelle K. Walsh. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Echo what General Henry said. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to being able to witness this process. And it's great to see so many familiar faces in the room from over, a couple decades in this field. It's great to see so many talented and dedicated public servants here, and I look forward to this. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us and nice to meet you. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank Ms. Shani Hicks, Executive Director of the Clear Commission, Ms. Corey Thurl, Assistant General Counsel for OSIG, and Mr. Jonathan Hendrickson, Deputy State Inspector General of External Affairs for OSIG for their continued work and guidance. Next, I'd like to acknowledge and thank the ex officio members for their partnership and service to the Commonwealth, representing the Governor, Deputy Chief of Staff Michael Pipe. Good morning. Representing the Governor's General Counsel Jennifer Selber, and the General Counsel designees, Executive Deputy General Counsel Kelly Sekula, and Deputy General Counsel Ann Gingrich Cornick. Good morning. Good morning. Representing the Pennsylvania State Police, Colonel Christopher L. Paris, and the Pennsylvania State Police designees, Major Jonathan Rush and Major Peter Gifford. Good morning. Representing the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, Secretary Cindy Adams Dunn, and DCNR designee, Deputy Secretary John Norbeck.
Good morning.
Good morning. Representing the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency, Executive Director Michael Pennington. Good morning. Representing the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections, Secretary Dr. Laurel Harry. Good morning. Representing the designee for the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections, Deputy Secretary Deborah Carpenter, and representing Capitol Police, Chief Joseph M. Jacob. Thank you all for your attendance and expertise. Our first order of business that requires a majority vote is to adopt our minutes from December 16th, 2024. The minutes were distributed prior to this meeting for review. May I have a motion to accept the minutes for December 16th, 2024?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. May I have a second, please?
Second.
For Commissioner Bailey first. Thank you, Commissioner Bailey. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussions or questions before we move to a vote? Hearing none, we will move to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? If so, please state your name for the record. Hearing none with unanimous vote, the motion carries. Next, I'm pleased to announce that the Clear Commission completed our second round of case reviews for our 3 designated committees as outlined in our executive order. As previously mentioned, the Governor's Executive Order 2023-21 provides for the process by which the Clear Commission will follow under Section 4, Paragraph 1, subsection A through C. The commission is authorized to review covered agencies' completed internal investigative findings related to allegations of use of force and bias-based policing. We review events, policies, practices, and procedures, and make recommendations to correct any perceived policy or training deficiency when and where appropriate for covered agencies following the completion of a case review. The Bias-Based Committee is charged with reviewing all investigations related to allegations of racial or ethnic discrimination and other bias-based policing or external complaints of bias or discrimination during interactions with covered agencies' law enforcement efforts. The committee members are Commissioner Caceres, Commissioner Sonnenschein, and Commissioner Bailey. We will now hear the committee's case review, which will be delivered by Chair Kevin Mahoney. Good morning.
Good morning, thank you. I'll give a brief summary of the facts and circumstances of the case that we reviewed. This resulted from a traffic stop that occurred on September 5th, 2021 by a Pennsylvania State Police trooper. The stop was initiated for a violation of excessive window tint in that the trooper could not see inside the vehicle in violation of the vehicle code. A traffic stop was initiated and the entire stop was visually and audio recorded by the vehicle mobile video recorder. Upon approach to the vehicle, the trooper identified himself and stated the reason for the stop. He asked some questions like, where were you headed today? Was there anything legal in the car, specifically meth, marijuana, or firearms? The driver of the vehicle objected to that questioning, and the trooper replied that those were common questions asked in the traffic stop. Subsequently, the driver was informed that due to the location of the stop, which was an unsafe condition, the trooper would be filing a citation instead of issuing one. During that interaction, the operator accused the trooper of racial profiling, which the trooper denied. On September 17, 2021, the driver initiated an online complaint against the trooper alleging he was racially profiled based on the questions he was asked during the traffic stop, and that the stop was the result of racial and implicit bias. He further alleged the trooper drove aggressively before initiating the traffic stop and failed to explain the reason for the citation. Based on that complaint, a full internal affairs investigation was completed by the Internal Affairs Division. Both the trooper and the driver were interviewed, and all relevant reports and video were also reviewed. Subsequent review by the troop commander, area commander, and director of Office Community Engagement determined that the allegations provided or alleged by the driver were not sustained. Upon our review of the entire case, we determined that the investigation was fair, impartial, and complete. All available evidence was thoroughly reviewed by the ID investigator, and all necessary interviews were conducted. We found no evidence warranting any recommendations for corrective action. After thoroughly reviewing the facts and circumstances of this case, it was determined that all actions were consistent with established policies, procedures, and expectations.
Thank you, Chairman Mahoney. This time, I will open the floor for any commissioners' comment. If there are any online, please raise your hand so that you can be called upon. Being no comments and hearing no desire to comment on this particular case, I will now open it up to the public for comments, and that includes the covered agency. If there's anything you would like to comment on as it relates to the case review, please make yourself known in here or raise your hand on the screen. Being no public comments, we will now move to the commissioner's vote on acceptance of the preliminary case review. I'd like to have a motion to accept the bias-based committee's preliminary case review.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Roselle. And who seconded? Was that you, Vice Chair? Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Lerner. Thank you. Having a motion and a second. Any question or comment before we move to the vote? All right. May I have a vote all in favor for this case review? Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any abstentions or objections? If so, please state your name. Hearing none, we have a majority and the case review has been accepted. Thank you. The Use of Force Committee is charged with reviewing a representative random sampling of lower level uses of force resulting in injury or death, including arrest and control techniques, baton strikes, and conducted energy weapon deployments. The committee members for use of force are Commissioner Wilson, Commissioner Chardo, Commissioner Mahoney, and Commissioner Roselle. We will now hear the committee's case review delivered by Committee Chair and Commission Vice Chair, David Sonnenschein. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you. This is a Department of Corrections case. That's the covered agency involved. I will give you a summary of the facts, just to again make us all once again familiar with them. This case goes back to July 2021, and it involves Department of Corrections Fugitive Apprehension and Search Team, known as FAST, F-A-S-T. They were assigned to the case of an absconder, or someone who was on parole but didn't report, therefore was delinquent, and had an active warrant for aggravated assault and firearms related to an incident in which he pistol whipped and shot the victim. In the morning of August 30th, FAST received information along with U.S. Marshals, who are part of the Joint Task Force, and located the subject, that is the absconder, and they were told and had information that he was likely armed, that is with a firearm. When they located the suspect or the subject, they observed and identified him. He was walking. They exited the vehicles in full tactical gear, as obviously it was clear who they were. Upon seeing law enforcement, the subject immediately fled. He was pursued by a FAST agent and others, and eventually trying to climb over a fence. The FAST agent announced with verbal commands, "Stop running, police, stop running, police." With taser drawn, the suspect then ignored those warnings, attempted to climb over a fence, but fell to the ground. The agent again instructed him to stay on the ground, but the subject continued to flee. And at this point, from about 7 to 10 feet away, the agent deployed his taser, striking the subject in the mid-back, and he was incapacitated, falling to the ground. Only one taser was deployed. The taser probes were removed. They were collected on site and transported to the local police station. Immediately, the subject, within a very short time, is evaluated by county EMS and declined further medical treatment. On August 31st, the next day, law enforcement received confidential information that the subject had indeed been armed and had dropped a firearm during the pursuit. It was a Smith & Wesson 9mm semi-automatic found in the weeds, and that was recovered as well. The various reports were filed by FAST, and the blue team was engaged, including information on the taser development. The FAST coordinator determined use of force within policy. Blue team was reviewed, went up through the chain of command as appropriate, and the final decision determination after reviewing the report was the use of force was in accordance with policy, and no further action was warranted. We had access to the appropriate DOC policies, regulations, etc. And certainly by our reading, all of those were certainly complied with. I might add, by the way, that the DOC, the present DOC policies were amended a number of years ago in response to recommendations from the first. I don't remember, I can't pronounce the name of the first commission I served on, but the one that made recommendations, it's impossible. It's not a word. It's like nine consonants. I can't say it, has no vowels. But in any event, there were significant recommendations and we got great cooperation. DOC made those changes and brought all of their regulations and policies up to date. In terms of, let me just add that we found that the investigation was prompt, complete, and in accordance with DOC policies. The policies involved were resistance and control, care, custody, control of Commonwealth property, including the taser. And in fact, we received an oral report, as you know, earlier in this process. We also found that the investigative findings were fair, impartial, and reasonable in accordance with applicable protocols. So it's our finding that everything in this particular instance was done according to policy and was appropriate. We have no particular recommendations except for one, which is purely administrative and doesn't in any way impact the kind of policies that DOC is applying. We say at the end of our proposed recommendations the following. Given the array of policies and procedures that affect DOC parole agents, Review Committee recommends that DOC generate an index or catalog of applicable policies for parole field services. We had access to them, but it wasn't the easiest thing to locate. And I would assume the same thing might be true for the officers involved. So we just thought it would be easier for application in preparation or in going into the field, and certainly a little more helpful to us. Obviously, that's nothing to do with the kinds of policies that were involved or their application and implementation in this particular case. And those were our recommendations, and I put them forth to the committee, to the commission.
Thank you very much, Committee Chair Sonnenschein. With that, I will open the floor for commissioner comments, if there are any in the room or virtually. Please raise your hand to be recognized. Seeing none, I will move now to public comments. That includes the covered agency. If there are any comments you would like to offer, please do so now, or if you are virtually, please raise your hand to be recognized. Seeing and hearing none, we will move to the commissioner's vote to accept the Use of Force Committee's preliminary case review. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. I need to pause for the virtual votes. My apologies. Any opposition or abstention to this report? If so, please state your name. Hearing none, there is a majority vote, and that case review has been accepted.
Madam Chair,
Lastly,
Madam Chair, I'm sorry. This really goes back to the bias issue. I'd just like to raise an issue, not significant for major discussion, but it's an issue that a number of commissioners and I have talked about. It goes back to what happened in the bias report with automobiles that have blacked out windows. And I know a number of us have talked about it. I've talked about it with Colonel Paris. I've talked about it with Commissioner Mahoney. And we know there are regulations, I guess, a statute, I believe, in Pennsylvania that gives a limit to how much they can be blacked out. I was talking to police in Philadelphia the other day, and I know that the municipalities don't particularly enforce it. I guess there obviously way much going on many times, but I know the state police do. And I just want people to be aware there is such a either statute, policy, regulation. And I just wonder if there's any thought to limiting even further the amount of darkening of windows that is done on vehicles, whether trucks or automobiles in the Commonwealth. I think it's a significant issue, and I worry about troopers have to approach, and police, municipal police have to approach these vehicles with no idea what's awaiting them. I mean, it's a dangerous enough situation on a traffic stop. But with that, I just don't really, absent some vision problem for which a person gets a special dispensation, I just don't understand, frankly, why this is allowed at all. And that's just my own personal view.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I can speak personally to my vehicle. It's the factory issued window. The two front driver and passenger windows are clear, but the rear two and the trunk are shaded out. My thought process is, and this may not have been very well thought out, but my thought process was if you had something of value, right, and someone just happened to be walking by, they
Yeah.
couldn't necessarily, catch it quickly, including the trunk. But your point is taken about the need for obviously safety for our officers.
No,
So
it's a
thank you.
very good point, and I appreciate that the front windows of passenger and the driver are not blacked out, which is what I'm really concerned
Yes,
about.
sir.
Right.
Yes, sir. All right. So we will move on then to the Critical Incident Committee preliminary case review. This committee is charged with reviewing all investigations of police-involved shootings resulting in injury or death of civilians by covered agencies. The committee members are Commissioner Lerner, Commissioner Zapp, Commissioner Bailey, Commissioner Chardo, and Commissioner Ford. As chair of this committee, I will deliver the case review. I will also note that because our committee deals with fatalities most often, I will provide a little more detail because I'm sure that the public would be interested in the details that led to someone being deceased. So the covered agency involved in this case was the Pennsylvania State Police. It was a police-involved shooting resulting in death. The incident date is December 22nd, 2021. The agency administrative disposition, use of deadly force was justified. Adjudication approved by the Deputy Commissioner of Deputy Commissioner of Administration and Professional Responsibility. The relevant policies and criteria examined were several. There were 12 articles that we reviewed, including provision from boards of arbitration awards and collective bargaining agreements, administrative regulations, and field regulations. Preliminary findings and conclusions. On December 22nd, 2021, at approximately 9:28 a.m., a police officer from a municipal police department was dispatched to respond for a report of an adult male, hereafter referred to as the subject, walking with a rifle, waving it around, acting erratically, and screaming unintelligibly on the roadway in a residential area. The caller reported that he had knowledge the subject was prohibited from possessing firearms. The municipal police department uniformed officer, who responded alone, was operating a marked patrol vehicle and subsequently encountered the subject walking on the road ahead of him. As the officer exited his patrol vehicle, the subject unslung his rifle and held the rifle in his right hand at waist level. The officer issued multiple commands to the subject to drop his weapon. The subject failed to comply and instead raised the rifle just below his line of sight, pointing the rifle toward the officer. The officer continued to give verbal commands to the subject to drop his weapon. After a few minutes, the subject ran into the woods. The officer then retrieved his patrol rifle from his patrol vehicle and attempted to pursue the subject into the woods on foot, but was unable to locate the subject. At approximately 9:45 a.m., Pennsylvania State Police troopers from two different stations were requested to assist the municipal police department with locating the subject. The responding troopers established a perimeter upon their arrival. At approximately 10:24 a.m., the PSP Aviation Unit was requested to assist with the search. Due to the threat presented by the subject, the Troop Criminal Investigation Section Commander requested assistance of the Specialized Emergency Response Team, also known as CERT, at approximately 10:54 a.m. At approximately 11:20 a.m., a command post was established. The troop commander responded to the scene and assumed the role of top on-scene commander, thereby approving the rules of engagement, which were established as protection of self and or third party only. At approximately 1:15, a local resident contacted the County 911 Center to advise the subject was on their property. 2 uniformed troopers who were operating a marked patrol vehicle responded to the resident's property and located the resident in the driveway, talking to the subject. The troopers exited their patrol vehicle as the subject began walking away from them. As the troopers gave the subject multiple commands to drop the rifle, the subject stated, "Leave me alone. I am not going back to jail." The subject continued to disregard the troopers' commands and walked towards a nearby wood line. A CERT drone located the subject walking toward the wood line while being followed by the troopers. 3 additional uniformed troopers, hereafter known as Trooper number 1, Trooper number 2, and Trooper number 3, subsequently arrived at this location and observed the other 2 troopers issuing commands to the subject. Troopers 1, 2, and 3 advanced towards the subject and issued verbal commands as they followed the subject into the woods. The subject, who was approximately 15 yards from the troopers, turned towards them and unslung his rifle from his shoulder. As the subject began to raise the rifle towards Trooper 1 employed deadly force by firing a single round from his personally owned and department-approved Remington Model 1187 shotgun. The shot struck and immediately incapacitated the subject. Trooper 1, as well as CERT tactical paramedics, immediately checked the condition of the subject, but the subject was already deceased. At 2:55 p.m., the county coroner responded to the scene and pronounced the subject deceased. A PSP major case team activation was initiated utilizing resources from across the troop to investigate the incident. A member from an unaffiliated PSP station was assigned as the lead investigator. Note, as per department policy regarding serious police incidents, 2 PSP Internal Affairs Division members responded to the scene, completed and witnessed the weapons download, and gathered other relevant information. Per protocol, Troopers 1, 2, and 3 were placed on administrative duty status by the Deputy Commissioner of Administration and Professional Responsibility. On December 27, 2021, Troopers 2 and 3 were returned to full duty status by order of the Deputy Commissioner of Administration and Professional Responsibility after they were debriefed, defused, and their level of involvement became clear. On January 4th, 2022, the County District Attorney rendered a preliminary opinion based on the joint investigation between their office and PSP and the information received to date. The preliminary opinion was that the shooting was justified and a formal decision would be issued after a review of the full investigation. On January 7th, 2022, Trooper number 1 was returned to full duty status by order of the Deputy Commissioner of Administration and Professional Responsibility, also having been previously debriefed and defused. On September 14th, 2022, the District Attorney provided a prosecutorial determination after reviewing the full investigation and evidence concerning the use of deadly force by Trooper 1 and the subsequent death of the subject. The District Attorney concluded that the shooting was justified. Following the receipt of the prosecutorial determination, an IAD administrative investigation commenced. A comprehensive internal investigation was completed on November 1st, 2022, and sent to the Troop Commander, State Police Captain, and Area Commander, State Police Major, for adjudication on November 9th, 2022. The adjudication was completed by a different troop commander than the one who was the top comm in this incident. On December 1st, 2022, the troop commander provided correspondence that the incident and all investigative documentation was reviewed and the use of deadly force by Trooper 1 was justified. The area commander concurred with the findings. The adjudication was forwarded to the Deputy Commissioner to ensure the findings complied with PSP standards of adjudication investigation. On December 21st, 2022, this investigation was closed by IAD. This committee's preliminary findings and conclusions. Pursuant to Section 4, Paragraph B, in the subsection B, of Executive Order 2023-21, the review committee conducted a comprehensive review of this case and found the following. We found case 21-1846 to be prompt as outlined within PSP administrative regulation and field regulation and in accordance with the collective bargaining agreement. We found that the review was timely based on information provided. And based upon the PSP's comprehensive written summary and oral presentation, the review committee finds that the investigation was complete as the investigators collected all relevant facts reasonably obtainable and conducted all relevant interviews. The review committee found no concerns related to fairness and impartiality based upon the information provided. And case 21-1846 was presented to be free of any conflict of interest based upon the case summary and documentation submitted for review. The review committee also found that based upon the facts contained within the written summary and additional documents provided by the PSP, the investigative findings were reasonable and in accordance with PSP protocol. The review committee will make no recommendations for corrective actions based upon the full review of this case and finding no policy or training deficiencies contained within the information provided to the committee. With that, I will open up this case for commissioner comments. If you have any in the room, please raise your hands, or if there are any virtually, please raise your hands to be recognized. Hearing no commissioner comments, I will now open up for public comments, including the covered agency. If you have any comments, please do so now, or if you are online, please raise your hand to be recognized. Hearing and seeing no one desiring to make a comment on this case, we will now move to the vote by the commissioners on acceptance of this preliminary case review. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or objections from anyone in the committee? If so, please state your name for the record. Hearing no objections or abstentions, this was a majority acceptance of the case review, and I thank the commission. The next order of business is to announce the upcoming date and location of our sixth quarterly meeting, which will be held on June 30th at 10 a.m. in Harrisburg here at PCCT headquarters, with more details to be announced in the coming weeks. We hope to have you present with us for the sixth quarterly meeting. As always, the last order of business will be to open the floor for public comment. If anyone is appearing virtually who would like to make a comment on these proceedings today, please utilize the raise your hand feature and you will be recognized to share your thoughts with us. If there are any comments, please state your name, city, and state, and limit your comments to no more than 2 minutes. Seeing no public comments initiated, I will now move to adjourn. On behalf of the Clear Commission, we would like to thank you for joining us. With no other business to consider, I would like a motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Commissioner Wilson moved and Commissioner Sonnenschein seconded. Am I correct? Or was that Commissioner Lerner? You sound alike. I apologize.
I yield to Judge Lerner.
I'm good at motions to adjourn.
You are indeed, Commissioner. Thank you very much. At 10:35 a.m., this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.